folks, Toad here with Visordown.com, and we are at the Hinkley Visitor Centre for the launch of these two new bikes, which is the Triumph Tiger 900. So the two versions that we've got in front of us are part of a larger range. So we've got the GT Pro, the red bike here, and we've also got the Rally Pro, which you can see on my right hand side. And here we have Mr. Stuart Wood, who is one of the men behind these two machines. Thank you for having a little chat to us.
You're welcome.
Just very quickly, it's very easy for the general public to look at these bikes and see these models and see them as just a facelift, but there's a lot more that's gone on. Having just sat through the presentation that you did, there's a lot of work that's gone on beneath the skin of these machines. So starting with the engine really, because it's now a 900cc with some rather interesting arrangements within the engine. Could you just talk us through some of those and tell the viewers at home about the engine itself?
Yeah, well, of course. 900cc, that's a good step, and it's all about increasing torque and response, more mid-range, very much stronger engine, really nice to ride. Big change is the actual, the crankshaft, starts with the crankshaft, which gives us different firing order. So we've got a crankshaft that's now spaced, the crank pins are spaced at 90 degrees.
Right.
So crank pins 1, 2, 3 are in 90 degree steps. Combine that with a firing order which is 1, 3, 2, and it gives you a 180 degree, then a 270, and then another 270 degree firing pulse. Okay, so you get one short gap and two long gaps between firing pulses. Now this is all about improving your connection with the rear wheel, so throttle to rear wheel, and it's all about off-road control, off-road confidence, and character as well. It's a very inviting engine to ride at low RPM and quite hard at low RPM off-road.
But you haven't lost any of that distinct sort of triple character in the way that the engine spins up, because I rode this thing, well, the old version on the launch in Morocco a couple of years ago, and I really liked the tractability of the engine in that it was still smooth. Have you still managed to sort of retain that character as well as the kind of the more sort of raughty low down torque of the engine?
Absolutely. This has added an element to the engine. It's not detracting at all from the top. It's a very refined engine. It's higher RPM. It's really smooth, really refined, and as you say, it spins up quick and great response.
It does also sound. Adventure bikes are supposed to sound a bit rough and ready, and the 800 was silky smooth, and it didn't have that kind of distinctive adventure bike bark to it. But this one, just hearing it earlier on, definitely has got like a bit of a raughty, or a bit of a more gruff sound to it. Just talking about the engine as well, instead of the internals, you eagle-eyed viewers amongst you will notice that we've got a split radiator, a split cooling system up front where there's two rads, one on either side. Just talk us through why that's been done and what the thinking behind it was.
Okay, there's lots of benefits to doing this, but the first objective is we wanted to change the centre of mass of the bike. So we wanted to move the engine forward and down. Okay, so we've moved the engine forward 40 millimetres.
Right.
We've moved it down 20 millimetres. We've not affected ground plane. In fact, we've raised the ground clearance. We've got about 15 millimetres more ground clearance with the bike. We've got 20 mil more front suspension travel, 15 mil more at the rear, but you wouldn't know it, okay, because you've got a seat height and a narrow seat that fits.
Right.
Now, moved the engine forward, we needed to do something with the radiator. The radiator split into two, gives a couple more benefits, improves cooling, improves the direction of the heat away from the rider, and also keeps any stones away from the centre of the radiator. There is no centre there now.
Yep.
So you're winning in multiple ways. So what we've actually done, what you're seeing there, is the result of a completely new chassis layout for the bike, which was all aimed initially at mass reduction and moving mass further forward and lower, but has gained so many more benefits.
And so you just mentioned the frame, and to look at, you think, oh, it's the same frame, but it's not, is it, at all? This is I think you referred to it earlier on as a modular frame. So the subframe and the actual main frame of the bike are now sort of separate entities and bolted onto each other. And how much lighter is the frame overall compared to the old model?
Okay, I haven't got a figure for that particular part, but what we've done is we've got a bolt-on rear subframe now. That's allowed us to keep the steel front frame, but have an aluminium rear frame. Okay, so that's a major mass reduction in that.
And you're quoting that there's around 5 kilograms sort of there or thereabouts between models, but some models differ slightly. So 5 kilogram weight saving overall. Just wanted to talk, we talked about the engine, talk very quickly about the suspension of the bikes, because again, the eagle eye will notice we've got two different setups on here, which is a similar sort of idea to the previous Tiger 800. So we've got Marzocchi forks on the GTs, and on the rallies, on the Rally Pro, we've got the shower setup. Just want to speak about the GT Pro, because that's got an electronically actuated rear shock absorber.
That's correct. Okay, now that's about comfort, convenience. You have presets, you have riding modes. You can choose at the touch of a button on the fly your suspension setup. So you can adjust preload, and it's simply solo, two up with luggage. You can just select. With the damping, you've got presets with your riding modes, but you can adjust all of those as well. Okay. So if you would like it firmer or softer, you can adjust from there as well. Now, from our research, we found that riders for the rally actually want to be more involved in the adjustment of the suspension and to dial the bike in exactly the way they want it. And with the manual adjustment, it allows you that continuous adjustment across. You can choose your setup exactly as you want, and the shower setup is phenomenal. As I said, we've got 20mm more travel at the front, 15 more at the rear now, and real good off-road ability and on-road comfort.
So was there a point that you looked at a full electronic complement of suspension across the two bikes, or did that on-the-fly adjustment sort of just mean that it was going to be on the GT Pro version? It's
appropriate on the GT Pro. What we are trying to achieve, as always, is very good value for money.
Yep.
We obviously want the bikes to be affordable and to be priced competitively. And customers tell us what they want. We're very aware of what they value and what they value in each of the two classes. And we're trying to offer them exactly what they have asked of us.
Yep. No, I mean, it looks great. I can't wait to ride it. I don't know if you can get it from the pictures and the video that you've already seen or that you see now, but it looks like a much more focused off-road machine. Talking about that, the facelift, styling of a motorcycle is so... Some people love it, some people don't like it, some people will prefer the old setup. Was the styling change, was that as a result of customer feedback or in talking to the people who are going to be going out and buying the bikes? Or
okay, well, it's an evolution. 2 years ago, we did have our Tramontana prototype bike that we were running. That was a rally raid bike. It was raced in the Pan Africa Rally. This takes a lot of its cues from that bike. It is appropriate for the bike. A lot of the bike's styling is actually based around the ergonomics and the functionality.
Right.
So we've managed to put a larger fuel tank. We've got narrower standover. We've got a better standing riding position. We've changed ergonomics. It all fits in with the look of the bike. The ergonomics are as much the way the bike looks as the bodywork.
Yep.
Yeah. So everything is done to improve the functionality, but also looks great.
Excellent. Can we have a quick listen to it? Is that
of course
all right?
You can. Please.
Yeah. I'll let
switch
you,
it on.
I'll let you. So yeah, compared to the old Tiger 800, audibly more gruff and sort of, and then when you rev it,
that's not the 240 degree super smooth at low RPM, but when it revs, it's got a bit of life.
Yeah,
definitely. That really is.
Yeah, I like it.
A bike.
Looking forward to riding it. So this is the press launch for this for these bikes is going to be in Morocco in February.
Yep.
And then they're going to be in dealers at the beginning of March.
Towards the end of March.
Towards the end of March. Okay. Pricing for these two is TBC. As soon as we get all of that, we will fill you in. But Stuart, thank you for having us along.
You're welcome.
Have a good evening.